These days, pretty much every other shooter game is trying to rip off Call of Duty in some way. But splash damage is going in sort of different direction with Brink. What are they doing?
They're taking the whole idea of team-based shooters and developing it even further. Whereas you might see teamwork, or you hopefully see teamwork in a game like Call of Duty.
Teams at least.
Yeah, it's really the backbone of Brink, and it has also been the backbone of the previous games Splash Damage has been doing, like Enemy Territory and Quick Wars. And this is pretty much just the perfection of those ideas, at least so far. And it's really obvious that they have a lot of previous experience, because everything is extremely streamlined in Brink, so that, in theory at least, new players should be able to grasp what the game is about.
What are those ideas?
You have the whole thing about one level having several objectives, depending on which sort of class you are, and you could go as far as to say that yes, some objectives certainly aren't as important as certain others, but it does help. For instance, if you're an engineer or something like that, that you can like fix repair stations or boost up your other players or just place turrets. And even in some levels, it's possible to build bridges so that before you would have to like go this whole different route, and now you can just skip on through the level. And those sort of like sub-objectives are planned for all the classes in the game, and it really like suits the game. It really gives you the idea that even if you haven't necessarily got the lust to just go out and headshot everyone, you can still sort of help the team.
One of the things all the marketing has been focusing on is the sort of parkour-inspired movement system called SMART.
The SMART system.
How does that work? Does it work?
Yes, but it's definitely not as smooth as the system that has so clearly inspired it, that being Mirror's Edge, of course. Mirror's Edge, which was all about movement, and Brink is not. It's part of the game, and therefore you will also be stuck in the environment sometimes when you try to use it, or you will like really fakely just jump over something where you're just sitting there, it had been easy just going like right beside it. But it does lend some verticality to the levels, and that's really, really smart, because that's something I haven't seen before in this sort of game. For instance, you will be able to just, jump up on boxes, jump on further to a wall and climb on top of a building instead of, having to find like a ladder case or stairway. And it makes for some really, really quick gameplay, and it also makes for some levels that are really like diverse and fun to explore, because you will almost always find like certain nooks and crannies that you didn't know was there before. And the levels are, some of them at least, are like amazingly big. So there are like all these sorts of places to explore.
Finally authorize the use of deadly force. Be very clear on this,
Captain,
ladies.
on deck!
Men, for the Ark to survive, we must have order. We must save the Ark!
They recently released some figures saying that in total there's something like 1 quadrillion different character combinations or character looks.
Yeah.
The visual style is different in Brink.
I, for one, find the visual style to be really, really, really clever and really set the game apart from almost everything else. It has to be said, though, that the 360 version that I reviewed, I'm currently playing the PC version, but the 360 version has some horrible problems with textures that pop in. And I mean, I don't know if you remember it, but at the start of the current consoles, the Unreal Engine had this like bad way of doing textures, and it's almost to that degree with Brink. They have said that they will release some patches, and I actually got to download one patch that sort of fixed it, but it's still there.
All right.
That being said, the visuals of Brink are really, really clever, really, really pretty and really distinctive, especially the way they have done like these characters almost. And that goes into the whole way you're able to just customize your character, because there are like a campaign and there are challenges, and challenges will unlock weapons and modifications for the weapons, whereas story mode or the campaign will actually just unlock like cool stuff for your character. And the way you're able to differentiate your character from almost everyone else is just extremely smartly done. And it really does make for some unique looks almost every time you go into a new match.
You mentioned campaign. Is there an actual story here?
There is. There is this police force. I can't remember what it's called right now, but there are there's this police force, and there are these rebels, and they're all fighting. Actually, the rebels are fighting to get off the island known as the Ark, and the police force is just like trying to control the chaos. And you're able, it's quite weird, but you're actually able to go into all the missions directly from the start, which are all led in by like cutscenes and everything. What I really like about the story, besides it just being like sort of cool because it's about this future utopia, is that no side is portrayed as the evil guys.
Right.
They're pretty much fair. And actually, when you start, for instance, I started playing as the police force, they really seem like the good guys. And I was sitting there, how can they possibly make these the bad guys when I chose the other side? And actually, when I did choose the other side, I was like, yeah, the police force are kind of scumbags. So. It's not something that revolutionized this kind of game, but it does provide some context for the game.
So seeing as it's objective based and the maps are huge apparently, don't you just get lost?
No, and the system for that is really, really quite clever, and something that almost everyone else should just go ahead and blatantly copy. You have an objective wheel, and all the objectives are just placed around it, and you can just push the objective that you want to do, and the game will actually just show where you need to go, and voila, that's it. And of course, all the objectives, like we mentioned before, are dependent on what sort of character you are. So you will have wildly different missions, and even some, like for instance, protecting a person or another player, are kind of silly. You do feel like you're actually really just giving a boost to the team when you, for instance, are repairing like an autocannon or something like that. That will just slaughter the opposition.
So far you've pretty much been praising Brink. Is there any downside to it?
Besides, of course, the texture problems, the one amazingly big thing about Brink is that it's hardly playable in single player. And that is almost exclusively due to the insanely bad AI.
Because the gameplay is the same multiplayer and single player, right?
Yes, yeah. Even the missions, everything, you can even open up the matches so that players are just able to replace AI, which is really clever. And they should do, because the AI is beyond belief. They pretty much just go to the same places where you just shot them like 30 seconds before, and they will keep doing that, and they will keep doing that. There's no sort or no trace of teamwork at all.
Sweet.
And while that is really like bothersome when it's opposition, it's even more so in an objective-based game when it's your own team. So really, if you want to learn how to play Brink, I mean, there are these challenge missions that are sort of hidden tutorials. But if you really want to play Brink the sort of way it's supposed to be, you have to go online. There's no two ways about it. And I don't know if it's fair for Game Today to not provide more of a single-player challenge, because it really is that bad.
I guess it works for Team Fortress, though.
Yeah, true.
But bottom line is, single player sucks.
Single player definitely sucks.
Multiplayer is pretty cool.
Multiplayer is really cool, and you mentioned Team Fortress 2 yourself. If you're into this sort of game and you want to try something, I wouldn't say better, but slightly different, Brink definitely is your sort of game.